What happened to your school bad boy / girl? My biggest bully in middle / high school ended up going to prison. Funny thing though, my mom worked in that prison, and they got to know each other. When he got out, he found me and apologized. He later got a job at a local Taco Bell, and whenever I came in he would always add a bunch of free stuff to my order. I haven't seen him in almost 2 decades, but I know he became a dad. I actually hope he's doing well. Edit. Just looked him up. Had 3 kids, a wife, and is a contractor now. I'm glad he turned it around. Wow, that's actually a great ending. Wholesome. Like it was straight out of a movie. He died in a car crash the night of graduation. My nod on methadone the night before graduation. Honestly, nobody was surprised. Sad, maybe, but not surprised. Mine runs a Reddit novelty account called Flashback to the Edit. I've got a stupid little joke I like to do at McDonald's that one time went wrong. First I go to Burger King and order a Whopper. Then I go to the McDonald's drive-thru and place an order for whatever I want that day, but I make sure to add in 1 Big Mac. Then I park the car, replace the Big Mac with the Whopper, and go into the McDonald's and pretend that they gave me a Whopper instead of a Big Mac. I pretend to be really mad about this and always say, "What is this, some kind of sick joke?" It really cracks me up until the most recent time, which made me stop doing it. So a few months ago I'm set to play my game again. Mind you, I travel a lot and always hit a McDonald's I've never been to before. So I go in and start off polite and say, "I think there has been some kind of mistake. I got a..." And the manager runs over and cuts me off. "You stupid bitch. We know all about you. Get out of the store right now or I'll kill you." He is irate and possibly on pills or something. He unleashes more swear words on me than I've ever heard. The next thing I knew, there was a huge flash and I was flying through the air and slammed against the Happy Meal display. I was completely dazed, bleeding from my head, chest, arms, stomach and legs. My flak jacket was completely torn up. There was a tremendous ringing in my ears and my body was shaking. At first I was bleeding so badly I thought I was dying, but my bleeding was quickly stopped by all the bandages that my buddy George placed on me. The fight raged around me and the machine gunner, who was also wounded from the bomb blast. Finally, our CAP team drove the terrorists from our village. The Viet Cong left for dead and many blood trails. Now I go to Wendy's. He wasn't the quintessential bad boy but did drugs, drank, got arrested for drugs. Total partier. Always nice to me, and we were friendly, but that whole scene just wasn't my thing. That was 1981, and up until 2013 wondered whatever happened to him. Found out my daughter's new boyfriend was his son. I was very relieved to find out that shortly after high school he realized he was going nowhere fast, cleaned himself up, and started a successful business. Thrilled to say that my husband and I share 2 beautiful grandchildren with he and his wife, and I couldn't be more happy about it. That's the best thing I've read in this post. Has an eggplant farmer. Literally. Delightfully niche. Definitely a quiet lifestyle. I can respect it. Shot and killed 2 fellow students behind a Publix across the road. So now he's in prison. Edit. For people wondering where. It was in Roswell. Gap. Man, even behind a Publix. That's rare AF. Where shopping is a pleasure. Lots of meth. She posts photos of her newborn boy and calls him her sexy little man. When people call babies sexy it makes me want to barf on them. It's so gross. On the babies? Don't do that. He got arrested for spray painting a wall and happy ending. He went back to school and got into uni. Nice to see a happy ending. r/neuro message. Alcoholic. Missing most or his teeth. Usually in between jobs in either lawn service or pest control. Has custody of his kids cause he's the good parent. She's dead. Odd right out of high school. Happy cake day to Yahoo. Is this really the time and place for that? He moved to California and became an ad film director. His Instagram stream regularly contains pics of him posing with topless models, celebs and fancy cars and bikes. He also has a boat. So, he's living up to his childhood image. I say. Man, I can't help but think he's probably exactly the sort of person people talk about when the Me Too movement was in full swing. Why? Isn't Me Too about consent? What about this implies a lack of consent? Or abuse of power? Drugs. Drugs and brain damage. In middle school there were these twins who were both really cool. They had a band, one did drums, while the other sang and played guitar, skated, occasionally got in trouble with the law, but for really small things. A few months ago I was taking a bus when I saw them get on. They were clearly homeless, and one of them kept whining to the other that he needed his fix. He passed out, and his brother half-heartedly puked into his hand. Eventually the bus driver saw one of them, I shit you not, strip down to his boxers to get some non-puke stained clothes on, and told them to get the duck off the bus. Told my folks about seeing the twins. Apparently they've been in and out of jail for years. Other guy I did karate with in middle and high school, and was a sweet guy who had a bit of a temper, and was a bit of a troublemaker. I saw him on the streets. We were both in our mid-20s, but he looked like he was pushing 40. He talked slow. One side of his face drooped even when he smiled, and he walked with a limp. I later found out that he was an on and off heroin addict and had been in enough fights that he was permanently brain damaged. Geez, yeah. Seeing people like this whenever I step out becomes a reminder for me to not even think about trying all those pills and powders. Had her second kid at 14. Good lord. That makes me sad. Got a girl pregnant, abused/killed the baby, and has still in prison 12 plus years. Has not the best younger brother, but what can ya do? Damn, do you guys communicate at all? When my parents push me enough, he and I chat on the phone. They don't believe he did it, even though the evidence was overwhelming. I've found over time it's bad for my mental health to try to talk to him. But I do feel bad for my parents and what has put them through, and I try to put myself in their shoes. So I try to do it for them. I'm fairly certain one of the prominent and popular bad girls at my school ended up as a prostitute. A few years after graduation she kept posting about how people should come get massages at this sketchy spa she worked at downtown. She also kept posting about her modeling career, but all the photos were behind a pretty steep paywall. So I'm pretty sure that was porn. Anyway, I read in the news one day that this spa she worked at was raided by the cops and the owner was arrested for running a prostitution ring. She suddenly stopped posting after that. Fairly certain. I'm thinking that a jury would find that beyond a reasonable doubt. D. It's funny. In some aspect just about every classmate of mine was a bad kid. Many went on to college or have kids. But many others have struggled. Out of 55, 12 have died. We graduated high school 6 years ago. Where the duck do you guys live? In Switzerland I know noon in my school that has died because of drugs or crime. I live in a cute little town in PA, USA. I would consider it a pretty wealthy place. Heavily white. Lots of real estate and financial companies. We have a huge opioid problem. Mostly with high school kids to about mid-20s range doing it. And up until the pandemic, there were kids dying constantly of odds. I don't know if it's just harder to get now, or the news isn't covering it as much, but I haven't heard much on the topic for the last couple months. Anyway, I remember my dad driving me to a friend's funeral when I was 15 and saying to me, "Yeah, I've been to more funerals before the age of 16 than I've been to in my whole life." A rumor went round school that he was messing around with a 13-year-old at 16. She fell pregnant. He got done for statutory rape. Her parents pressed charges and he went to juvenile detention. He married her anyway once she was legally able to get married, although I believe they divorced shortly after, and he became a grandfather at 31. Presumably because a daughter they had also fell pregnant at a really young age. Damn. That's one young Gramps. Damn. That's one young Gramps. Grams would be 28. Two bad boys. Both brothers. A few years apart. The younger one started some sort of legitimate business. Think Roy from The Office. And seems to be doing extremely well. The oldest is literally homeless and constantly begging for money on Facebook. It's really sad. Would be weird if only one of them was a brother. school bad boy. When I was there was my older brother. Drug dealer. Played in a metal band. General smartass and arsehole. He flunked out of college after 2 semesters and has been waiting tables since then. He turns 30 this year, and the girl has dating now is the first one who's stayed with him for more than 6 months. Super cool, actually, but like 5 years younger than him. They have a couple dogs, smoke a lot of weed, and play a lot of D&D. Last I heard from him, he was escalating a feud with his neighbor by putting a plate and a half worth of loose cooked spaghetti in her mailbox. That ending OMG hahaha. The one that comes to mind forced his ex at gunpoint into his car and then drove to another state. Cops eventually caught up with them and then he shot himself in the car. I feel really bad for the girl. Ouch. Hey, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.